Why, hello, hello, and welcome back to another guide for Return to Moria. And today, this is going to be a real quick one and a real simple one, but I'm going to explain to you guys the difficulty settings. All right, I have them on custom right now. What are they? You can literally change them at a moment's notice in the game, and I'm going to explain them to you right now, okay? It's not super hard, but let's go through it. So you can click these automatic choices up here. Story mode will change it to what they recommend for going through the story. Story mode is basically like really easy mode. Okay, so if you're brand new, I recommend story mode. If you're playing as a solo player and you're just a little newer to the game, this is what they recommend for a solo dwarf. Okay, this is ideal for a single dwarf. They say it up here at the top too, but I'm going to explain in a little more detail what these all mean. Normal mode, ideal for a small company, probably 2 or 3 players, maybe 4. If you're, it's kind of more the default settings. Hard would probably be like before like 5, 6, 7 dwarves maybe, and then at that point you can customize. So custom just is a custom setting you can set up. So let me explain what all these are real quick. We'll start from the top and we'll go down. So combat difficulty is the enemy's damage and hit points. Okay, so basically the higher you have this, if you have this on very high, they're going to hit very hard, do lots of damage, breaking your armor or killing you, and they're going to have lots of hit points. So this is going to make them far more challenging to fight, okay? If you get swarmed by an army of goblins, and you're in solo, and you have it on very high, that is going to be a hard fight. Now, granted, the game somewhat will spawn less based on how many people are on. So you have 8 of you on, it's going to spawn a few more units from what I've noticed, okay? Take that with a grain of salt. It's just from my own experience of playing hundreds of hours of the game. But I will say that it makes it more challenging. It also probably will spawn less if you have these things on. You have enemy aggression, okay? How often enemies attack and how many will attack at once. So actually, we'll take back kind of what I said 10 seconds ago. This is the one that actually increases how many will attack you at once. So even if you are a smaller group of dwarves, I've noticed there's a difference even without this setting, so I kind of wonder if the game somewhat adjusts it itself, like I said 10 seconds ago. But basically, this is the one, how often enemies show up and how many will show up. So enemies aggression, this can be very scary. But again, it's fun. I like things on very high. But again, for now, I'm going to keep those on default. Survival difficulty. Okay, the strength of various buffs, the speed of dwarf succumbing to despair, and the rate of stamina and energy and hunger. Okay, we'll have a different video explaining what all of those are. But just because I think it's important to show it real fast, you can see there on the far left side, there's buffs above the fire right there, where it says Hero's Thirst and High Spirits, okay? So those will go away faster if we have that difficulty turned up. Also down there in the bottom left, we have food is the orange bar at the bottom, red is the health bar in the middle, all right? Those will go away much faster if you have that on a higher difficulty, okay? And when you run around, see the thing where it says stamina, which is the yellow one, right? When I'm running and rolling, it uses it up. That will go away a lot faster and not charge as fast when you're done fighting, okay? So that's what'll make that more challenging. So really, that turns up the survival difficulty a lot, which is why they call it survival difficulty, okay? Yes, good job, Zollin. We'll explain. I'm just making a joke about that comment. All right, mining drops. Okay, so this is when you're mining, how many things drop out of the vein. Okay, so you find a thing of ore and you hit it. Maybe if it's on very low, you'll get 15 out of it. If it's on, this is just me guessing, okay? If it's on low, you might get 30 out of it. If it's on default, you might get maybe the generic was 45 or 50 out of that big mine node. And if you have it on high, you're probably going to get like close to double. It's a lot. I've noticed. So it's probably going to be like, 70 or 80 instead of 50. Maybe even more. But so these are fun to have on if you're just mining to try to build a base. I highly recommend having this on high. If you're trying to be a little bit more hardcore, go for lower default. That's what I recommend. World drops. This is basically things dropping off orcs and enemies. Very low, they won't drop much. Same exact thing. As you kill creatures, they'll drop like certain things. Gundabad orcs drop Gundabad slag, which is a type of metal that you need to craft with. So Again, default is probably the thing you should keep it on, but if you're trying to farm them for a certain resource and you don't really care about playing like super like hardcore, you know, turn it up to high, right? If you're just trying to farm up, or there's a lot of you have a lot of players, there's 8 of you playing, might be ideal to have these on high just so you don't have the issue of like running out of resources all the time. Granted, your friends could bring resources from their own worlds, like I explained in the first guide video here on the channel, on the playlist, but keep that in mind. Horde frequency. Hordes are basically how noisy you are and your actions to trigger the horde. It explains it right there, but it's something that I'll explain more in another guide video too, or you've probably already watched one of my other guide videos. But hordes happen when you're being too noisy. The noise symbol is in the bottom right corner usually, kind of where my camera is here, and it goes boom, 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 boom. It's like an eye of Sauron almost. And when it'll your character will go, a horde is coming, right? And he'll freak out. And again, the horde frequency is affected by the combat difficulty and aggression, right? Because more of them will spawn and show up. So hordes are basically like what happens in the Lord of the Rings movie, right? With the Tomb of Balin, right? Where they're like, fool of a took, you throw yourself in next to riddles in your stupidity, right? When Pippin knocks the thing in and then all the goblins come, that's basically a horde. All right, so again, harder difficulty. It triggers more often, they happen more often, and your noises are more dangerous. So if you're playing really hardcore, you put this on very high or something, right? You're trying to sneak around. Siege frequency. Siege frequency is basically orcs will attack one of your bases, right? Or goblins. It works identical to Horde. I don't really need to explain more than that. It's when they attack one of your fireplaces or your hearth, okay? This will change how frequent. I personally like it on low, because I only like one of these once in a while. I get really frustrated if you put them up very high. They're happening like every 10 minutes or something. It's like, it gets a little bit much. But if you're trying to get lots of kills, because you're trying to collect resources off world drops, I mean, that's a good way to get some kills, right? You turn those up. Patrol frequency. These are the orcs that just kind of randomly spawn and walk around, like groups of 2 and 3 orcs, or little camps or whatever, I believe, too. Enemy groups spawn. I think it's mainly the patrols that walk around, which are like 2 or 3, or maybe a warg or something. It's the same thing. You turn up very high, you're going to get a lot more of them. One of the other ones is default, medium, low. You're going to get almost none of them, right? So that's basically how that works with the customization. I'm going to go ahead and leave it on normal for our world right now, but I am going to leave these on higher, and I like survival difficulty very easy. So to finish up this video, this one, it gets a lot harder to kill things the higher you go. This one, there's a lot more of them the higher you turn it up. This one, survival. The lower you turn this, the easier it is that your stuff doesn't run out. Your health, your stamina, your food, all that kind of stuff, okay? The higher you go, the faster it runs out, all right? Mining drops, world drops, common sense. You get more if you turn it all the way up, you get down. So it's like positive right, right, negative left, you get less. All right, horde frequency, siege frequency, patrol frequency, all going to work the same way. You turn it up to the right, you're going to get a lot more of them. You turn it to the left, you're going to get a lot less. You're set. That is the difficulty modes. You are now prepared for your trek through Moria. And yes, the game pauses as solo. It does not pause in multiplayer, mind you, but it pauses in solo when you're playing solo. And yes, you can change these settings mid-fight. And does it affect the orcs that are already spawned, you might ask? Yes, it does. So, for example, I was fighting an orc. He was only taking like 10 damage a hit because I had it on super hard combat difficulty all the way up. I turned it down to the lowest difficulty. He's taking like 100 damage per hit. Like it's literally that big of a difference, right? It's a huge difference. So you really got to learn what level you find fun, what's challenging, what's too challenging, that kind of thing as you improve, or what group amount of friends you have, right? So that's how you're going to work this system and everything. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you'd like more. Subscribe button's right there next to the tavern symbol. And thanks to Red for being a Royal Guard and all my other Patreons. You guys are awesome for supporting the channel. And hopefully these are helpful to brand new players or players who are just getting in or need a refresher with these things. But it's a lot of fun, and it's a great game, and I highly recommend it. So with that, my friends, I'll see you all in the next episodes of Voice of the Rings. Stay happy.